Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Emily Drunk, and tonight, in episode 235, we'll be keeping you up to date on basically everything going on around Overwatch, as well as its competitive scene. So before we get into the news tonight and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight live on Twitch, and of course, thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ed. I know, it's been close to a month since we actually last sat down on this particular podcast. We do have an update on that
Mhm.
front. So before we go any further, just the update is moving forward. We'll be recording on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and that will be on a bi-weekly schedule.
Correct.
And, kind of like the reason why we're doing that is because one, we don't want to primarily be an Overwatch League exclusive podcast throughout the
Mhm.
entirety of the season because we already have a network podcast that does that. And, we kind of already do aspects of that on OWL by the numbers. But
Correct.
two, it's also just kind of knowing that in regards to general Overwatch, things have kind of been slow and steady. So, there have been long droughts where we haven't really seen the updates or balance patches or events and things like that. So, it's just a way to, still maintain a steady schedule, but also not kind of put us in a corner where, we're having to struggle to piece together how about we're gonna go about a show on a week to week basis because now, we knew at some point, eventually that was going to catch up to us, and that's kind of like
Yeah.
where we are at this point in time. So that's a plan moving forward. So basically, we'll be on a week, we'll be off a week, and then on an off week, I will be recording our Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. So we'll still be doing a podcast night basically every Wednesday moving forward. But we are starting an hour earlier than the norm, at least compared to what we had been in the past for Heroes Never Die. So keep that in mind. 4 p.m. Pacific time, bi-weekly on Wednesdays, and of course, we'll keep you guys posted on all of that on our Twitter and on Discord. But anyways, now that I got that out of the way, as you can tell, Edinar is here with me again tonight. So Ed, it's a big week. We got Overwatch League back. We have the
Yep.
Archives event, which is currently live, that dropped this past week. Uh,
Boo. I have thoughts about the new archives event.
it's
It's shit.
it's
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 it's bad.
something. It's something.
It's bad. It's just bad. But all right, go on.
But that's all I got. But it's a big week. Obviously, we're really excited for the Overwatch League to be back.
Yes.
We'll talk about our plans for Overwatch League coverage here in just a little bit. But man, like, how excited are you? This is a pretty big week, just as a whole
It's
for Overwatch fans.
yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to watch games this weekend and just get back into the Overwatch League
Hmm.
and see how everything goes. I- it's exciting. It's an exciting time of year for esports fans because no matter how you feel about Overwatch, Overwatch is still one of the top 3, 4 esports in the world right now. Um, and you may be like, oh well, look at the YouTube, Twitch numbers and stuff like that. Well, look at the China numbers.
Hmm.
Like that's that makes all the difference in the world. So I'm very excited for the Overwatch League to come back. I want to see competitive Overwatch. um I'm sick of losing players in the Overwatch League to other games because it's been so long
Hmm.
and they just lose interest in Overwatch. Um Hopefully that goes away when they announce actual Overwatch 2. But that's down the road. But yeah, I'm super excited because the Overwatch of the game is in a great place right now.
Hmm.
Like the actual game, like it's fairly balanced. People are enjoying the game. It's just there's no new content,
Right.
and the Overwatch League will bring about a renewed interest.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely. So, looking at general Overwatch news for the week, we do have a new book coming out this fall, and that is The Art of Overwatch Volume 2. Now, this is kind of like a companion piece, I guess would be the best way to put it, to Volume 1, which was released, this is going back to like 2017. So this is going back a ways, but it's due out. This is also by Dark Horse, who did the first volume as well. And I know they have two different versions of this. You have the standard version, which is a retail cost of $50. They also have a deluxe version at $100, and they're kind of like offset releases, because you have the standard one coming out October 15th, deluxe version coming out October 27th. But man, I was looking
mhm.
at that deluxe edition. It's got that exclusive slipcase. You got 3 different lithograph prints also there. So we got some new art. We also have some Overwatch 2 key art involved with that as well. And, like, knowing that it's been so long since Volume 1, obviously a lot, I'm not going to say, like, too much, but we've had new heroes, we've had new maps, events, things like that. So Volume 2 is basically going to touch up on the heroes that were released prior or after, Volume 1 came out. So, we're talking, like, Doomfist, Echo, especially. But they'll be going over, like, new modes, some of the different levels, skins, cinematics, and things like that. Now, that being said, I don't know if you actually have Volume 1. I know I do. And I'm trying to remember if they had a deluxe edition of that as well. But either way,
Okay, so I got the collector's edition.
okay,
Did that it come with that?
I'm
Because I got an art book when I got the deluxe edition, the collector's edition.
okay.
So I don't know if it's the same one, but I did get an art book when it came with that. But I'm not the key demographic for art and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like it's to me it's cool, does not intrigue me, but I know it intrigues a lot of people.
Right.
So it's just not for me, but I know it's out there for a lot of people.
Hmm. I was trying to see if that was included in the deluxe edition or not, or if
Because
that was just
I still have my
cosmetics.
little Soldier 76 statue
Hmm.
and my postcards.
Right. Let's see here. Statue, soundtrack, visual source book. Doesn't
Oh,
specify
that's
what the source book is, but I'm pretty sure that that wasn't the same thing.
okay.
I don't have it on hand, so I can't show you what actually it looks like. But I do have it. It is a really. I mean, if you're
Somewhere.
interested in art, I mean, obviously, and if you're a big fan of the game, this is something that you're probably going to add to your collection one way or the other. It's just a matter of, do you want the fancy golden cover with the lithograph prints, or do you just want the standard edition? But either way, I'm definitely going to be picking this one up, and just it comes out at a good time. It's right around my birthday. I'll have some extra cash on hand, so I'll definitely be picking this up. Just a matter of which version am I going to decide on. But all in all, I'm all for new books coming out. I'm hoping we see more novels being released as well, so we can expand a bit more on the lore aspect. And I know they got one for like McCree and Ash coming out at some point too. I'm trying to remember when exactly that's coming out though, but I know like that's the next one on tap in regards to the novels that Overwatch is doing as a whole. So
No.
with that being said, obviously like right now we're kind of in a lull period. We did have the archives event drop in on that April 6th update. And this is running through April 27th. So basically, what they did here is they have all of the classic archives missions live with this event, and players can earn more rewards through the weekly challenges. Well, we're already over a week into it. So if you didn't get your 9 wins this past week, you missed out on one of the 3 epic skins.
Eh,
Hmm?
this is where I have the freaking problem.
Okay.
It's not 9 wins.
So they changed it.
They changed how you get like the sprays. You have to actually play the event like archives to get it. Now you get points basically. You like it's like 10, 30, 60 points like for each tier or whatever or something along that lines. But you get more points if you play that week's current archive event.
Huh.
So like if you do the current one you get 6 points. And it gives you need 10 points to get the first tier. So it's not wins or anything like that. You can't just do wins. You can't play the game. You cannot play the game normally and get this stuff. You can only get it if you play the event. And that's it. And that is the problem I have
So
with
they're
it.
forcing people to PvE.
Exactly. Like I've played plenty of actual games this week
Mhm.
and it means nothing towards the event because none of it counts. You need to play the actual events for it to count. And that is where I'm saying it's bullshit.
Mhm. 'Cause that's the
Like
first time
to
they've done it that way.
this is the first time and I'm hoping that it's the last time because this is a horrible. I mean, people like Emong who play 15 hours a day,
Right.
he hasn't even unlocked it. Like it's just shitty. It's bad. It's bad of them to do this. I get what they're trying to do, trying to change it up, spice things up. But yeah, I'm still gonna hard pass on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like I understand that thought process, but if we're just talking about an event in itself, regardless, having new unlockables is going to bring interest back to the main game. But to kind of like pigeonhole people into being like, hey, make sure you play this stuff that you've already done before. uh, yeah, that's definitely really weird since that's abnormal from every other weekly challenge that we have had up to
Yes.
this point. So it's a stray from the norm. I, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of that either. Like, I'm probably not even going to bother. In-
I'm not bothering. And not only because the skins and stuff for this patch, this archive new archive event are actually kind of they're horrible.
They're like military throwbacks,
The
basically.
British are coming. This is revolutionary British invaders.
Hmm.
Like that is basically what they have.
Right.
And it's just they're not good skins because it's just they kind of went across the board like, hey, you get a British skin, you get a British skin, you get a British skin, and that's not good to me. Like, there's no uniqueness about any of it. So yeah, it's pretty crappy. Like overall, this event is probably like it's one of the worst,
So one of the
especially
biggest
with the
misses.
changes. Yeah, it's one of the biggest misses, and yeah, I can't defend this.
Hmm. Yeah, so I was cycling through the new legendary skins just to see like what was there, and as you mentioned, like a lot of them are kind of colonial based. You have the revolutionary tracer skin, so straight out of the Revolutionary War. You got that regal hat and uniform with the Britain colors as well as the flag. I think my favorite part about that skin in itself is actually that her pistols are more like old revolvers. So like I like that they not only tweaked the model, but also the models of the guns as well. And I
Mhm.
kind of chuckled when I saw the 76 1776 Soldier 76 one because it is colonial look. You have the ascot and the white gloves, but the only thing I'm thinking of when I saw that is Hamilton. Definitely gives that vibes for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I can't sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah, but all of these are like throwbacks. I know the Widowmaker one, the Musketeer is like a 19th century musketeer. They also have the Polyanitsa Zarya, which is kind of like a legendary female warrior. I think it's. I'm not even sure if that's a real thing or if that was just like a folk tale in Russia. But it kind of it fit the tone for Zarya at least, so that was like kind of like right in line. Now outside of that, the patch also did have the return of competitive 6v6 lockout elimination. So just another way to earn competitive points if that is something you're still looking at doing to unlock whatever golden gun you are looking at. But we did have a couple of bug fixes that are worth mentioning in this patch as well. Uh, One is definitely one I've been on the wrong end of, and that is the May bug with Blizzard. So there was a May bug that caused enemies to remain frozen during Blizzard after they were knocked out of the area of effect. So that's been fixed, as well as a bug with Winston when basically he was being able to get knocked back during Primal Rage when he was affected by Zarya's projected barrier. So even having that extra shield in, he was still kind of getting punted around, and they fixed that bug as well. I think the May one is probably more prominent in regards to uh, what you probably come across. I haven't seen the Winston and Zarya one as much, but May's definitely been a little bit more prominent in the meta.
Yeah, she's. I'm not even gonna go down that road. I hate you, May. Like plain and simple, I hate you. There's nothing else I can say about
Mhm.
it. You're the worst.
See, unfortunately, like I wish we had more stuff here. I haven't kind of looked at all of the unlockables, so I don't know what there
There's
is.
nothing special when it comes to. I guess the best thing outside of the skins that you can get is the Reaper emote, where he's trying to decide which guns to use.
Is that the one where he's like constantly reaching into his coat to pull out
Yeah,
another pair? Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so you have that.
And that kind of reminds me of one of the bits in like Scary Movie 5 with Snoop Dogg. I can't remember who the other actor
I'm
was, but they were.
sorry, I'm not gonna break it. I've not seen Scary Movie 5.
Yes, okay. Well, regardless, it was like the same. It was like the same thing. So they kind of had like a standoff. They were kind of like spoofing, um, the Cabin in the Woods and crap. I'm trying to remember the other horror movie. It was like Mama or something with the creepy kids in the woods. But basically, like one of the guys sees one of the creepy children in the cabin in the woods and starts shooting, and then Snoop Dogg mistakes him firing towards him. So then Snoop Dogg pulls out two of his pistols, and then they're like, "All right, let's put them down." And they do a countdown: three, two, one. They drop their guns, and then they pull out two more, and they do that for like 6 times. So it's basically the same thing, but with Reaper in this case, and also Hellfire shotguns instead of just pistols. Same exact
I'm gonna have to. I'm just gonna have to trust you on this one.
But anyways, let's talk some Overwatch leaks since Archives is kind of a bummer. So, here we are, opening week. We have had some roster shuffling here in recent weeks. We have soon being released by the Boston Uprising due to visa issues. So this has been a common factor here as of late that
Mhm.
hasn't just been affecting the Boston Uprising. But what does this mean for Boston? It means that they have Color Hex, I'm 37, and Valentine remaining on their DPS rotation. And I know since then, Soon actually announced that he's retiring from Pro Overwatch. He is moving over to Valorant. No surprise there, and that's gonna be a common trend probably for a while. Just because we don't know how far along Overwatch 2 is, and there's a lot of uncertainty about when exactly that's going to drop. And when, people don't have a good time frame, obviously that kind of detracts kind of like their excitement for the project, and they decide to, move elsewhere. So, it's It's been a common theme throughout the offseason. This isn't anything new by any stretch of the imagination. People are going over towards, the new hotness or whatever you want to describe Valorant as. But all in all, like, we had higher expectations going into the season for Boston. And this was a team who, struggled heavily this past season. So, when it comes to this DPS rotation, you have to imagine that this puts a bigger burden on I'm 37, knowing that he is the sole remaining hit scan player on this
Hmm.
roster. So, how much do you think this is going to change the overall dynamic for Boston this season?
I don't think it's gonna change all that much. Like, all right, I'll be blunt. Fans loved Soon, but Soon was not that good anymore. He's kind of like Linkser. He had his niche moments. He's a fan favorite. He was good at aiming on Widowmaker, but probably not the best hit scan player on your team. He was more of a specialist. So like I'm 37, yes, it puts a little bit more pressure on him, but not a whole lot because you were probably only pulling I'm 37 for Soon on specific maps. So I don't feel that this is that big of an issue. And I think I'm 37 is actually going to be legit in this league. Like he's going to be good. People have that, well, look at him when he played with the Toronto Defiant. I'm like, yeah, but he also got rushed into that and he wasn't ready for it.
Right.
He hadn't truly played anything.
Yeah, he speed ran.
Yeah, at that point. So he got rushed into the league when he really shouldn't have, and now he actually has experience in contenders and whatnot. So I think IM 37 is the hit scan that Boston wanted all along, and soon was more of a backup. So I don't think it's gonna affect them all that much.
I think the bigger thing for me is just how good is I'm 37's tracer play? That's probably the biggest question mark I have because I felt like Soon would have been their pick in that specific situation, with I'm 37 probably taking the mantle for the other hit scan heroes within the game. So, for me, that's definitely going to be the main thing that I'm going to be looking at if Tracer is going to be as meta as a lot of people are perceiving her to be going into the opening week. But all in all, like I don't think this lowers my expectations for the
Mhm.
team. It doesn't temper my curiosity. I definitely have a lot more interest in Boston this season than we did all of last season. So they made some pretty good changes, and
Yeah,
Val
they're not a complete trash team right now.
right. Like in most cases, none of us have them at the bottom of NA, which is already an improvement. So there is that as well. And no, if you want to buy into Scrimbucks, they've been doing a lot better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. So this could be one of the bigger surprise teams in 2021. Now, that being said, Boston is not the only team that has been dealing with visa issues. Philadelphia Fusion has been played with a ton of them. And
Basically all
yeah,
non-Korean
all
players.
all their NA and EU talents are having issues with visas. So if you're keeping track, guys, that was like half of their roster. So what did they do? Well, they returned to a familiar face, someone who they have had on the team in the past. So they re-signed Flex Tank Hotba. So he's back with the Philadelphia Fusion, and then they also turned to veteran main support and former Seoul Dynasty player Toby, the Boop God, coming back into the Overwatch League. And I have
Mhm.
to say, like, obviously, I have my thoughts on Toby as a Dynasty fan.
Now, I'm gonna also add on top of that because we haven't had an episode.
Mhm.
Also, they got Rascal.
They did, yes.
So, like, we haven't had an episode since they've gotten Rascal as well. So
Mhm.
they got Rascal, Hotba, and Toby.
Right, so you're looking at Rascal paired with Carpe. Hotba will be taken with Mono. And then that leaves you with Alarm and Toby. So you got your starting six, so you don't have to worry about not being able to field a team during that opening week. And, for me, obviously, I have an investment in Toby. This is a support player that I've been following really since the inception of Overwatch esports. Like he's one of the few kind of like mainstays, like one of the few OGs still remaining in professional Overwatch, which is always great to see. So I'm really excited to see how he's going to perform. And I know a lot of people still have their reservations based off of how he had performed on the Dynasty. And especially when you started to see a little bit of fall off compared to him and some of the other main supports getting called up from Contenders Korea. But you look at their support line, so the other option would have been Funny Astro. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to play due to the visa issues. But I think when you're looking at the DPS perspective, right, Ed, like getting Rascal is absolutely massive. And I know there's rumors that they might be adding another hit scan player to their lineup. We'll see whether or not Libero is going to make his way to the Fusion, but
Yeah.
that's the rumor that's going out and about right now. But I have to say, like, Carpe and Rascal, that has me pumped. I cannot wait to see Rascal back. And he had just kind of been that Swiss Army knife for the San Francisco Shock, or really any team that he has been on. He's been the guy picking up the heroes that have been pretty meta prominent, like especially like right now. I'm expecting to see him a lot on the May, or maybe even Echo in this case. But that is a guy who has that experience. He's been around the block. He's performed on the big stage. And I've tempered my expectations with players like EQO in the past because I don't think he's performed at the same level. And Shockwave, yes, he has a ton of potential, but we haven't seen the breakout type of performances or just the level of consistency that you get from a veteran player like Rascal. So
Mhm.
I think as a whole, maybe on the support line, it's kind of either a mulligan or maybe a slight step down. But on the DPS, I think that's actually a huge upgrade over the counterparts that you would have had in elsewhere.
Yeah, no, like this whole team, it's weird how the things kind of came together for them.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I did they get worse? Probably, but they got alright, this is gonna sound weird, just follow me. They got the least amount of worse as they could have. Like, you replace Poco with Hotba. Okay, not bad. To me, that's a wash. You replace either Shockwave or EQO with Rascal. To me, that's a wash. The only downgrade I think they get is switching from Funny Astro to Toby. Like that's the only kind of like, yeah, that's a downgrade right there, but not a massive downgrade.
Mhm.
And they've done just such a good job. And like this team, as much as they've gone through with not getting the visas for these players, they made the best of the situation.
Yeah, and it's been interesting seeing like everyone's power rankings coming out since this news. And a lot of people, like even if we're just talking about APAC rankings, a lot of people going into this season probably had Philadelphia either behind Shanghai, because Shanghai was like unanimous top APAC team.
Yeah.
And then it was mostly between like Philadelphia Fusion and the Seoul Dynasty, depending on what camp you're in on that side. But since then, I've seen a lot of people kind of like moving Philadelphia Fusion down towards kind of like that middle of the pack. So I don't know if it's more of a reasoning because they feel like it is that much of a downgrade, or if they feel like the team is serviceable but not necessarily the same powerhouse, or if it's more of a case of they feel like the Fusion are going to be slower getting out of the gate because they did have such late arrivals to the team.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, I don't know what the scrims have been looking like. I don't know if, like, Toby and Rascal have been scrimming with the team for a while, so we don't really quite know what sort of synergy has already been built there. But I that's what I'm imagining why people are starting to, dogpile on them a little bit more than what they were here in recent weeks.
Yeah, plebes in chat to put it right. They're definitely got worse, and I don't think that is arguable. They got worse, but the team is serviceable.
Mhm.
I mean, I would maybe go slightly better than serviceable, but I get what you mean. It's just they got worse, but they're not. Hey, we got worse. We're the LA Valiant type worse.
Well, that's hard to really
That's
compare.
hard to do.
That's in a category all in its own. Let's be real here.
Mm, yeah, you're right.
All right, so outside of that, we did have also some news out of the Dallas Fuel Camp where their DPS player XC has stepped down due to some back issues. So dealing with some health issues,
Mm,
and he's open to returning in the future. So right now his plan is he's gonna fly back to Korea. He's gonna focus on his physical health, and he hopes to return back to the Overwatch League stage. So what does this mean for Dallas? Well, Doha and Sparkle, your Element Mystic duo that you're probably more familiar with during the EM days, is the duo for the Dallas Fuel. But there's an issue here, Ed. You have lost your hit scan player. Now we know Dallas is looking to sign one or two more players. Obviously, we've kind of had our discussion on potential people that they could either trade for or sign. Most of which we've thrown around on Discord as well as talked about on OWL by the numbers. But if we're talking start of the season and Dallas is kind of forced to stick to their guns with what their team identity was on Element Mystic with that Hackfist or Sombra and Echo DPS combination. Like, do you feel like at the start of the season that Dallas Fuel risk being too one-dimensional as a team where people are going to be able to adapt to that specific play style and it's going to be uh, something that they're going to have to rely on too much there?
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think this is going to really affect Dallas all that much to start off with. Um, with that said, like it will affect them maybe 5 6 weeks, plus down the road if they don't get a hit scan player. But I think they're going to be able to kind of play the anti meta or the Chengdu Hunter meta as a lot of people refer to it as off the bat, where and it will work for them,
Mhm,
whether it's the echo sound or whatever they decide to do. They have the talent there to make it work, with Sparkle and Doa are not shabby DPS players. I mean, Doa was a legit great player last year for
mhm.
Dallas. And Sparkle, well, it was Sparkle.
Again, I'll
uh,
I'll be honest. Like last season, I was very nervous for Doha, knowing that he was kind of separated from the core team because they were all playing with Paris Eternal. But Doha definitely showed up this past season.
yep.
So for someone that was known as being kind of like the quote complementary DPS, because whenever people talked about Doha and Sparkle, obviously, a lot of the attention is at Sparkle because, he played more of the dive
Yeah.
heroes. But Doha's Sombra play has just been next level. And if we do get that, I'm definitely going to be smiling from ear to ear, knowing that really they were kind of the ones that revolutionized that specific play style. So if we get to see that again, I'm going to be all for it.
Yeah, it's just we just don't know what the hell is actually going to happen. Like that's the big thing.
Hmm.
We don't know what meta is going to happen. And I think as long as they practice and they make it work for their team, they'll be fine. I don't know. I still have Dallas Fuel in my top 5.
Mhm.
Somewhere between 4 and 5 behind, the Shock, Shanghai, and, Gladiators. But, it's just one of those things where that team is just so skilled.
Yeah, I definitely have more faith in Dallas, knowing that Rush basically had full control over everything. Hopefully, that's going to persist throughout the season, and no one's going to be stepping on his toes, which has kind of been the Dallas MO since really the dawn of time. So I don't know, like, but I know when the news hit, I was like, oh man, fuel cycle of misery. Here we go again. It's picking up, and we'll have to wait and see how they perform. But either way, I'm so excited. We know Dallas is going to address the hit scan issue. Um, it's just a matter of who are they going to target? Like, are they going to go for a Korean talent, knowing that well, if they are in Korea, they're going to run into visa issues, or are they going to try to make a trade for someone who is on a Korean team that is based in NA, because there are options there. And I know some of the names that we have thrown out are Happy, Jerry. You brought up Glister.
Glister would be my number 1 pickup for them. Hands down. And I don't think anyone can compete with that.
Mhm.
Like, I would take Glister over Jerry any day of the week.
Right,
But it's a matter of what it will cost to get him away from the San Francisco Shock,
right.
which may or may not be that much. Just for the simple fact that he may not be playing for the team.
That is true.
Like,
Like
he
we know
may not
Ty,
even be a starter.
right? Like we do know Tayo was basically Krusty's, like, this is a terrible terminology, but I'll use it anyway. Pet project, right? Like
Exactly,
he's like the
and
golden goose in the wings.
yeah, and then you have Striker and Nero as well. It's just like, is he gonna actually play?
Mhm.
And you just don't know. So if he's not going to, maybe it won't take that much.
All right, well, hopefully we'll have an update here soon. Maybe even as soon as next week. You never know, because Dallas moved pretty quickly during the offseason, and
Mhm.
knowing that they're already looking for a
And they
replacement.
did say they're looking. They it's not like they're like, we're, happy with that team. No, they flat out said they're going to be signing in a hit scan player.
Mhm.
Plain and simple. Like, they already said that.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see who they sign. But I don't think they're going to be too far behind just playing Doa and Sparkle until that happens.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think even if one of them does flex over, that it's gonna be like Lasse levels of McCree. Oh man,
Yeah.
that that
Now,
that
I
was an
will say
eyesore.
this, Exy did not retire.
Right.
He took a medical leave of absence.
Yeah, regardless of if retirement's being thrown around or not, no one truly ever stays retired in esports.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, he could probably sit out this year
Mhm.
and then come back next year.
Right.
And after he gets his back all figured out, which fine with him. But the thing is you also have to understand is when he does come back, he is not a free agent.
Yeah, he's
He
under
is
contract.
he's
He's
under contract with the
getting
Dallas
paid.
Fuel. Yeah, he when he comes back, he's on the Dallas Fuel.
Mhm.
Uh unless they release him or trade his rights or whatever. And that's fairly common with most sports. If somebody retires due to injury, um, they're if they come back, they're under contract with the same team. So yeah, Ixie is part of the Dallas Fuel, and he may be back 6 months from now. We don't know. It's a matter of how his back is doing.
Mhm. All right, so with that being said, of course, it's kickoff week. Overwatch League is back on Friday. We're kicking things off with a Battle of Texas between the Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel, followed by another California Cup. This one between the Los Angeles Gladiators
Let's let's get all
and the
right. I'm just
back-to-back
gonna throw
champions.
this out there. The California Cup is fucking useless at this
Yeah,
point.
it's just it's a promotional thing.
There's 2 teams in California
Right
right
now,
now.
yes.
So it's
I'm
like,
aware.
the California Cup is the same as the Texas Cup.
It is.
Like, you can't have a cup when there's only 2 teams.
I fully agree, Ed, but it's purely promotional material. That's all it is. So we'll just call it rivalry games is probably the better terminology.
Yes, it is a rivalry.
So the second rivalry game is between the LA Gladiators and the back-to-back champions, the San Francisco Shock. All right, so we've shared
That's
our
the
thoughts.
game of the week. That's, hands down the game of the week.
Out of everything, I 100% agree. Like you and I both have high expectations for the Gladiators. Um, a lot of people are kind of saying like, well, Shocker performed terrible in scrims, and we're like, we've heard that before, but they always win championships, so I'm not gonna take anything you say as face value, regardless. But man, am I excited for that match! And Shock have kind of a reputation for fumbling the first game of the season, so we'll have to
Yeah,
see
I
what's
mean,
gonna happen on Friday.
yeah. It's oh god, it's gonna be such a good day. I I'm like I'm going to 100% be available if we want to do a live watch party of the Gladiator Shock game.
What time is that on? Do you have it on hand by chance?
3:30 and I believe it's
I'll be working.
okay. Yeah, no, that is local time, so that
Yeah.
is 3:30 East Central. That's stupid.
Yeah, I like that the Overwatch League is sticking to more of a specific start time for their scheduling. The downside is, for me at least, is I work until 4 p.m. any day that I'm working, and chances are I'm not off on the weekend. So that basically means I'm missing the entirety of that first game, as well as one or two maps out of the second. So
Yeah.
live viewership is kind of wavering,
No,
dependent on
yeah,
that.
like that's for you. I work half days on Friday, so I'll be able to watch all the games
Mhm.
on Fridays, but that is pretty crappy timing wise.
Yeah, for
I
me too.
don't get that.
It
Um,
is what it is, but it's not the first time I've had to try to work around the league scheduling. But basically, what are our plans for 2021 coverage? So obviously, since we are moving to that bi-weekly recording, it's gonna make
mhm.
things a little weird because we're not gonna be talking about the Overwatch League every single week on the podcast. Sure, it'll be every week that we record.
Yeah,
um,
we'll
but
bring it up at least.
we'll still be talking about the storylines that had followed. Maybe even talk about some of the bigger games. But our primary goal is pinpointing the team that we want to follow throughout the season. And obviously, like we kind of hinted at two teams that we were looking at. Two teams that we're both fans of. We were looking at either the Seoul Dynasty or the LA Gladiators. And, just knowing how time works, the obvious choice there is going to be the LA Gladiators. And, I'm super excited for this team this year. We've talked
Oh,
about the signings that they have made.
best support
Combining
lineup in the league. And no one can argue with me on that.
Yeah, combining Shu and Moth is going to be pretty crazy. I just hope that they can meet your expectations. I don't know if I'm comfortable saying they will immediately be the best support duo in the league, but they are going to
Who's a
be
better
damn
support
good.
lineup?
I'll,
I'm asking.
I'm trying to
Shoe moth,
think.
shoe moth, don't bother me. Shoe, no. Can I not do the change it from shoe fly to shoe moth?
I mean, I know that's what you were doing, but I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
slowly
There you
dying
go.
on the inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
I
be
mean,
we'll be covering the
the closest
Gladiators.
probably is the shock with Violet and FD God. But
If Funny Asher was playing, yes, I would say that the
yes,
Fusion
if
have the
funny,
better support duo, but he's not
if
playing.
Bunny Astro was playing, I would agree with you. But he's not. And, it's the shoe moth don't bother me. That is just so ridiculously good. The throwing Kevster, and then you got Space. Oh, this team is so good.
The big question is, how is Muse going to perform on the main tank role?
It's gonna be iffy, but I don't have that many concerns.
Yeah, I think there's enough to bolster him up, similar to
Mhm.
Sato at times for the Philadelphia Fusion. So we're definitely going to be covering the Gladiators games. I don't know
And I
if
think
we'll do
s
deep
I
dives. It'll be more on the most recent game going into that next
y
recording.
yeah, and I'm sure, and I think we can both agree on this is, we talked about the Gladiators and Seoul.
Hmm.
I think Seoul will be the APAC team we cover the most,
Right.
because that is the team we care about the most in the APAC region, both of us. Um, I'm very interested to see, is SBB gonna actually get play? Like, we just don't know. Like,
Hmm.
what is gonna go on with the Seoul Dynasty? And I think the Gladiators and Seoul are gonna be the official teams of this podcast. Because, I mean, I have Gladiators and I have Seoul Dynasty jerseys, so I'm good to go.
I mean, I have a lot of jerseys too. More dynasty than anything, for sure. Now,
Oh, see, I'm more
yeah,
Gladiators.
I will say though, like out of all the third kits, the Gladiators one was by far my favorite that they
Oh,
released.
yeah, like, my Decay third whatever Gladiators jersey is one of my favorite. It just sucks that Decay, who's my favorite player in the league. Like,
Hmm.
I'm all in on Gladiators, but Decay is my favorite player in the actual entire league. I'm just upset he's not still on the Gladiators.
Yep. But that's esports for you. So
Yep.
with it being opening week, Ed, what are some of those other key matchups that you're mostly anticipating this week? Because we got some pretty big games this week as a whole.
Yeah, we got some really big games this week. I think. Hmm, wait, is this right?
Is what right?
Where like, I'm on the Overwatch League site. Do Philly and Seoul play back-to-back games against each other?
That's not right.
Because it says that they're playing at 7 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. And it says it's an encore. Uh,
They're replaying it.
they're
That's
replaying it?
what that
Okay, I
means.
was gonna be like, "What is going on here?" Oh, yeah, because they have the same thing with the Fusion Valiant.
Yeah, so basically what they were doing for Philadelphia Fusion and the New York Excelsior, they were replaying it at a more NA compatible time. So the
Oh,
NA
that's good.
fans could still, you know, keep track of how they were doing and not have to like wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever ridiculous time.
Yeah,
So that's what that is on the schedule, if anyone else is confused by it.
okay. So I'm gonna do my shocker. Not, I guess you can't really call it a shocker of the week, but I think one of the things that people are gonna be talking about after this week is how dominant the Florida Mayhem are. They play the Atlanta Reign and Vancouver Titans, and those are two games I could see them 3-0ing.
Mhm.
Both. Both games. Like, just dominating both games. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me. The I think the overreaction of the week is going to be the Houston Outlaw fans. Because here's the thing. No, no, no. Like, here's the thing. Houston actually is not a bad team.
Right.
They have a bad week one matchup. They play the Dallas Fuel
Hmm.
and they play the San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Like,
rough
those are
stretch.
two. That is a rough first week. where they could get dominated, but as an Outlaw fan, do not read into this first week too much. Because the thing is your team's better than what you're playing arguably against like two of the top 3 teams in NA.
Mhm.
And you're basically probably going to get shit on, but this is just a 1 week thing. So I think the overreaction of the week is going to be Houston Outlaw people, and the underreaction is going to be how dominant the Florida Mayhem are.
Yeah, for me, I think the other matchup that I'm not gonna say I'm looking forward to, but probably the one that holds the most intrigue value is that opening match for the LA Valiants when they're going up against the Chengdu Hunters. Now, in the past,
I can't.
you look at
I
the
can't.
Hunters.
I can't.
I know you don't want to see how bad the Valiant are, but for me, the Hunters are always that team who everyone is always desperately trying to cling on to. Like they put all their hopes and dreams in Chengdu because they have the panda logo and they want them to be really good because they were the ones who initially broke the meta back when 3DPS was a thing. And Amain was just balling on people quite literally. But like they've always kind of been stuck in this rut where they can't escape the middle of the pack out of a pack. And a lot of people are looking at the Valiant and like, what the hell is this team even doing in the Overwatch League? You got people playing roles that they've never played. You have an off tank on main support in High B. One of their tanks is also new to that role. So it's just like, is this going to be a situation where they're not going to take a map, or are they going to pleasantly surprise people? For me, it's just what are we going to get? What is the competitive integrity of the LA Valiant going to be going into the 2021 season? Because if I'm picking a team that the Valiant could take maps off of, probably the first team that would come to my mind is the Chengdu Hunters. So I'm
Mhm.
not going to say that this is going to be a close series by any stretch of the imagination, but what is the Crystal Carry going to do for the LA Valiant? Like, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like Crystal is probably my breakout player of the season. Um, kind of like I don't know if he technically qualifies for Rookie of the Year.
Well, he's already played, so.
Yeah, yeah, like he's been part of the league. I don't know if he's actually has he technically played for the Spark? Like I can't remember.
I
I
think
don't
I
know if
think he did.
like I don't know the qualifications he has, but like in all intents and purposes, he's a rookie
Mhm.
because he hasn't really played. Like, so Crystal is my rookie of the year to watch. Like, he could be the one player. He could be that, for the Titans last year, Shockwave.
He's the $2 million man after the Spark lawsuit.
Exactly.
Jeez, man, there's so much money.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, Crystal is probably better than pe- he's better than people might think
Mhm.
because they have a lot of like bad blood in their mouth regarding him, bad taste of him, and he's easily the best player on the team. Also for fantasy, pick up Crystal. He's super cheap.
Yeah, 34 currency on draft buff.
Yeah, which is like half the cost of the average player starting out.
Mhm.
Like you take Crystal, you can basically get 3 of whoever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Um, so Crystal is going to be the wild card for that team, but the team's still really bad. Like they have a tank player who hasn't played Overwatch in like a year.
We'll have to wait and see, but for me, it's
like,
just
like,
it's gonna be
like,
one of these, right? Like,
you're
how
gonna be
bad
like,
are they?
how bad are they? But I'm gonna keep it open over my eyes
Mhm.
just to slightly see.
Yeah, sometimes maybe all you need is just a commentary whenever Crystal pops up,
Yes.
or otherwise it's just like you just hearing the bodies hitting the floor. All the death emotes.
If assassin, all right, plebes in chat, we already know I love decay. That is proven. Imagine if assassin goes full ons this year. I would be very pleasantly surprised if assassin goes full ons this year. Because ons was kind of like what the hell happened? Why do we have ons right now? Type of situation. Like, where did this come from?
And then
So if
double
he
hits gen
goes
was the
if
thing.
he goes full ons, GG.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us here tonight. So, I know we're all excited for the Overwatch League. We'll definitely be tuning in over the course of the weekend. And we will be recording again next week to talk about the results of Opening Week. And then we'll be bi-weekly moving forward at that point in time. And with that being said, if you guys want to help us out, please do us a favor and head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing and if there is anything you would like to see us incorporate into the show. We'll probably still be trying to keep it around an hour, but with Overwatch League back on, chances are probably more than half the show is going to be dedicated more to the esports side, since general Overwatch news will probably be floundering for the foreseeable future. And, at least we got esports stuff to talk about to kind
Mhm.
of prop things up at that point. But if you guys are looking to support our podcast as well as the network that it is included on, you can consider pledging to our Patreon page. We have tiers starting at just $1 a month. You can find more info there at patreon.com/OWL network, where you too can join the likes of our master and above patrons in Daniel, Owl, and Kesha in helping our network grow. And of course, we have a number of different ways how our listeners can contact us. So, Edinar, please let them know how they can do just that.
All right. So you can contact us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at hndOverwatch. We do have a website, and that's at owrecall.com. You can catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We do have a Discord at discord.me/OWLN show. We also stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLN show. We are a Twitch affiliate, so help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. We do podcasts pretty regularly. So on Overwatch League Network is currently on a flex schedule. So typically records early afternoons, but check the OWLN show Twitter for any updates on when shows are going live. On which just returned 2 weeks ago or a week ago. We have OWL by the Numbers, which airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is our fantasy Overwatch show. And then we have this show, Heroes Never Die, which airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Totem and I also do a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast called Tavern Tales, which will air alternate Wednesdays to Heroes Never Die over at twitch.tv/Tavern Tales HS. You can follow me personally on Twitter, and that's at Ednar Overwatch, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ednar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Or you can find me over on Twitter at Drunk, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/Drunk. And if you guys haven't noticed, we do have Fantasy Overwatch League, leagues happening. You can find all of that information on the OWL by the Numbers Twitter. We also have
Yeah,
the Pick'em League as well
where you can compete
to lose the Ed.
with the man.
Yeah, okay. But I hope everyone enjoys opening weekend. We'll be doing, some picks in regards to Discord to see who you guys are rooting for in some of the marquee matches. So keep an eye peeled for that on Discord. But until next week, guys, you enjoy your week, enjoy the games. If you're trying to get your points for the event skins, make sure you're playing the right thing and don't make the mistake that I would have and just try to play quick play to get him, because
Yeah,
that's not how it
it's
works.
so horrible. It's God, it's just horrible.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Hopefully they'll go back to normalcy moving forward for the next events. But we'll see you next week. Later, guys.
Peace.